Thank you. Welcome to today's subcommittee licensing hearing. My name is Councillor Nagpal and I shall be chairing the meeting. My colleagues, Councillor Coley, Councillor Gallant and I comprise of today's subcommittee. Makisha Grant, who is the clerk to the subcommittee, will be minuting the meeting. Uyeme Davies is the legal advisor to the subcommittee. You will have all received or seen the agenda pack, within which is contained the licensing officer's report with details of the application in section 1. To confirm, we are dealing with the new premises application relating to A-Star Retail, situated at 10 King Street, Southall, Middlesex, UB2 4DA. We note there has been a representation objecting to the application from a responsible authority and the police. In accordance with the procedure, I shall invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call any witnesses. Invite those who have made representations or objections to make their representations, answer any questions and call any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee democratic services officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. Thank you. If the panel cannot reach a decision today, you will be notified in writing within 5 working days of the panel's decision. I will now invite the applicant to make his representation. Over to you, Mr. Melbourne.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address my application today. So I've just noticed that you guys have, how should I explain? So you guys have rejected the application in some sort of way, or so I've got this information in front of me that Ealing Council is in so where my shop is in a cumulative impact zone, and I understand the responsibility that comes with the applying for a license in such a sensitive area. However, I believe that there are some measures, and we are proposing to grant this application. And in addition to this already strong operating schedule, we are offered the following additional conditions to directly address the concerns, both to the police and licensing authority. We have made a few conditions we did offer to the police and to the licensing team, which are that we are not going to be selling alcohol containers, no miniatures to be sold, no beer or lager above 6%, and no alcohol will be displayed openly on the shop floor. All surplus stock will be stored securely in a stockroom. Disposable cups will not be sold to discourage street drinking and antisocial behaviour. These measures are designed and specify street drinking, reduce risk of theft, and promotes responsible retailing. I have held a premises license for approximately 1 year. While this has been my first time acting as a designated premises supervisor, I have 3 years of experience managing retail shops where my father, Akbir Singh Madan, held the DPS role. And this has given hands-on experience operating licensed premises responsibly. To further address any concerns about experience, I'm happy to confirm that Mr. Madan, who has held premises license since 2018, issued by Birmingham Council, is willing and able to act as DPS for this premises as well. We will ensure that either he or I present at the premises at most of the time, and I'm also familiar with the local area. And in my view, many of the street drinking and antisocial behaviour issue appears to be concentrated around certain gambling establishments, like Paddy Power and Bedford on King Street, Southall. And we do not intend to contribute to the issue, and we have specially designed our layout, staffing and alcohol sales model to avoid doing this. Regarding concerns around crime and safety, we will have the following measures in place. So most of the time we will have 2 members of staff in the morning shift. on site, and 4 during the presence of alcohol when it's allowed to be sold. Alcohol will only be stored in 2 locations, a lockable fridge and behind the counter with a shutter, secured, so no one have access except staff and myself. There will be no self-service for alcohol display and no open shelves for alcohol anywhere on the shop floor. It's also important to note that alcohol sales will account for approximately 10% of overall retail space. We are a convenience store, so it is very important to note that 10% will be there, and we are a convenience store for first, and alcohol is just one part of the broader retail offering. Without being able to offer alcohol to our customers, we are unable to be a full convenience store, as a customer would still have to go another store to buy their alcohol. In conclusion, I believe that the extensive condition we have offered, combined with our experience and commitment to our responsible retailing, demonstrate that the application will not be negatively contribute to this cumulative impact in the area. Instead, it will provide a well-managed, accountable retail outlet that operates to a high standard. I respectfully request the subcommittee to consider granting this application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions to be asked?
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Just to clarify, you are the applicant. You referred to yourself in the third person just then, so I just wanted to check. Okay, Mr. Dear, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do, Chair. Mr. Madden mentioned his other premises where he'd worked. Whereabouts were those, please?
They were in Birmingham. So actually, I'm a wholesaler on side business. So I got 3 companies in hand. So one is a wholesale company, which I sell like a wholesale of confectionery, poppy flowers, and there's a lot of other stuff we sell, like flowers, dried flowers mainly. And I'm very known to this Southall area. We had a shop in Birmingham. It was a family-run business. And my father, Mr. Ragbir Madhan, he had a DPS on that property. So it was a family-run business. I have a quite good idea how to run the business with help of my father and the family.
Okay, and your father now hasn't got that shop, and he's going to, well, I wouldn't say take a back seat, but he'll be assisting you in that premises in King Street.
Yes, he's also going to be working there too with me.
Okay. When you were giving your presentation, you said no alcohol above 6%. I think in the application it said 5.5.
5.5, sorry, my bad.
5.5, no problems. Yeah. And when you mention you're a convenience store,
yeah,
90% of your thing, excuse me, and do you sort of sell things like coffee and things like that? You know, if people want to come in and buy a coffee, or
yes,
you do. So yeah. When you say no disposable cups, as we see in a lot of shops, they say that they're for people to drink water and to have coffee in. When we see disposable cups in your premise, or not in their premises. Can you just clarify that?
Sorry, Mr. Dear. I got a bit confused. You do mean like coffee as in as a coffee machine to be installed in the store, or
yeah, or
the actual coffee to sell? The pack?
Oh no, a coffee machine, like things you've got to pour, use cups for.
I'm not thinking of putting the coffee machine in the store.
So you will have no disposable cups anywhere in that shop?
No.
No, okay. Not even for your staff?
We will have the normal glass.
Glass, okay.
Yeah, but that will only be used by the staff, or the cups to be drinking for the tea.
Right. Yeah. No problems. Just to clarify a couple of more points. You say you're well known in the area. You have a premises in Charles House, I believe, or in that
That's
estate
right,
there.
Yes.
And in your presentation, you mentioned that all the ASB is centered around gambling premises. I'm not too sure if you go in them yourself or you know, if it's a religious thing, but they're not allowed to sell alcohol in them shops. They're not really allowed to have customers in there with alcohol. But so they're not selling the alcohol to people, are they? It's the shops in King Street that are selling this alcohol.
It's not about, I'm just saying about the more crime. So there are a lot of, I've noticed as I go past the street, I always notice there's a police car standing outside the shops. There's a lot of crime in that particular shops or around that shop. I've also seen like where the Petty Power is opposite, right opposite the shop.
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of street drinking just like outside the shop. There's people standing with the cans and, you know, they're standing outside. People are going inside the shop. They're coming out, they're going in the shop to buy the cans and come back there.
Okay.
I do not go there, but whenever I'm past that area, I see most of the time the police cars are around there and, you know, standing, or there are some sort of a issue going on in the particular with their shops.
Okay. You've got going to open A-Star Retail at number 10 King Street.
That's right, yeah.
What's it being used for at the moment?
At the moment, it's a toy shop.
Toy shop. Because you do know that number 8 is A-Star Liquor Mart.
Yeah.
And it's been closed for probably around before COVID, I would have thought, just about COVID time. Because the owner of that shop actually died a few years ago.
That's right.
But that's also got a license, but it's never reopened. Opposite your shop, there is Sierra Superstore that's licensed as well. And in fact, in that street, I think there's 6 other off licenses. We closed one down because they wouldn't stop selling illicit products. But in your area, that very short space, and if you just expand it to 500 meters, you're looking at probably near on a dozen off licenses in that area. But you, in your presentation, said that your business is only 10% alcohol. And you said quite a strange thing, because you said basically about customers going to other shops to buy if you won't sell to them, or you know, because you've got such a small array. Is it worth the trouble then of having 10% of alcohol sales? Do you see where I'm coming from a business side?
As of my perspective, I think as a convenience store, if I get an off license, so if a customer comes in, they will do their shopping. 90% of their shopping is going to be grocery, fruit and veg, and 10%, of course, some customer would need alcohol.
Yeah.
But I don't want that customer to, you know, have a hassle or to travel to another shop to buy, where I can sell in one place everything.
I see. You mean it's like a one shop stop.
That's right. Yeah.
Rather than
customer going around to look to buy their, you know, spirits or beers.
Yeah. Okay. And when you mentioned a shutter, a lockable shutter.
That's right.
Would that be a metal shutter behind the counter?
That's right. Yes, metal shutter.
Okay. And the fridge is locked, you say, or lockable?
The fridges are lockable ones. So during where, for example, if my license starts at 9 o'clock and my shop's open at 7, the fridge is going to be entirely closed.
Okay. And you offered a couple of, well, I don't know if they were offered as conditions. You said that AM, there'd be 2 staff, and PM, there'd be 4 staff.
Yeah. During the 3 to 4 staffs we're going to be having, yes.
3 to 4, okay.
Yeah.
And when because originally you had an agent, didn't you, put the application together for you?
That's right, yeah.
Mr. Bartlett, and he's spoken to me and the police, and you mentioned you answered some of those questions, didn't you? Or
That's correct, yes.
our concerns.
They're from my side, yes.
Yeah. And one you mentioned when you said you'd be here on your own today was about the marking of alcohol.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell the committee that, or do you not want to offer that? I'm not going to put words in your
Yeah,
mouth.
of course. I would like to offer that as well. So of course, if I'm be selling alcohol, for example, if I'll be selling a bottle of vodka, so I will have my sticker with my shop name and my shop address
Okay.
on it. Even the beers, everything, whatever I sell, they will have my sticker on it.
Okay. The trouble with stickers is they come off, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, when somebody walks out, they're quite shrewd street drinkers. They only buy one can just in case the police come along and seize the other 3 if they buy 4. So they don't lose 4 cans. But they could just pull that stickers off, couldn't they? And litter the street. Do you see what I'm saying?
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just putting that sticker so I know which customer is doing that. So next time I wouldn't allow them or to
Gotcha.
sell alcohol to them.
Yep. Okay. I've got no other questions at the moment. Anyway, thank you. I'll pass it over to the police.
Thank you, Mr. Dear. Officers, if you wouldn't mind kindly introducing yourselves before you ask your questions, just so we can address you correctly. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Morning, Chair, morning panel. Sergeant Dimitri Kassar from the Ealing Licensing Policing Team. With me, I have a local neighbourhood officer who routinely patrols the area that Mr. Madan's store is in. This is Officer Nicholas Beasley. So he's been on that SNT for roughly 2 years now. Prior to that, his experience is he was on emergency response policing at Ealing, and prior to that he was working on neighbourhoods policing, but in a different sector to Southall, where he currently is. So he's got quite extensive experience on the streets of policing the London Borough of Ealing. And then with us as well, you can't see it, but is my other colleague PC Anu, who is of the licensing team. Chair, those are the introductions of the officers. Mr. Dears asked quite a few questions that I'd already asked, but I just want to ask Mr. Madan the most obvious one. Mr. Madan, can you list what the 4 licensing objectives are for me?
Yeah, sure, I can. So there are 4 objectives. So the one is prevention of crime and order and public safety. And there's one of for public nuisance, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children and harm.
Okay. It looks like you're reading that off a list, but yeah, I'll give you the grace on that one. Further to that, and leading on to Mr. Dear's questions, you have stated that you're going to sell 10% of your business will be alcohol related and 90% will be related to other stuff within the convenience store. That's correct. Am I correct in your mathematical assumption of these things? Would it be fair to say that the 10% might supersede in terms of sales? So whilst I understand 10% of the products you may have will be alcohol, but that may supersede the 90% that you have within the store. Could that be a fair assumption?
So is it possible you can repeat that for me again, please?
Right, so you've got 10% alcohol, 90% other things like coffee, herbs, whatever the case may be. Could it be that even though it's 10%, the 10% in terms of sales economically could supersede, so in other words, be more than what you're selling the other stuff within your convenience store?
So of course, my products, for example, other stuff's going to be more. For example, the confectionery, the grocery, that's going to be more than alcohol.
Okay, so your projection would be that you'd sell more of those things than the alcohol?
Alcohol, yeah, alcohol is just one part in the business. So like I said and mentioned before, it's just going to be the 10% of overall.
Okay, I
The
understand.
90% is going to
Maybe
be confectionery, the drinks, and the 10% is going to be the beers and just spirits behind the till.
all right. The other thing I was going to say is, you say you've had stores everywhere, Charles House. How long have you effectively had business in this region of Southall?
In Southall, I've started the business. It's been nearly 3 to 4 years now.
Okay, so you understand the complexities of the issues that occur within Southall itself, with regards to street drinkers, antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder, which does emanate from quite a few convenience stores through the sales of alcohol and potentially other illicit products. I'm not accusing you of that. I'm just saying, do you understand that there is that issue?
I understand, yes, of course. One of the shopkeepers, I was selling my, as I said and mentioned before as well, that I do sell wholesale. So I do supply to some retailers around this area. And there is one store, I think, on King Street at the post office. So their license has been taken away because they were selling illegal stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to supply to that shop as well. After they have taken their license away, I have stopped selling my products to them.
Okay. Then in light of one of our concerns is, and Mr. Deere alluded to this, is that the premise next door. What is your relationship to the premise next door that does have an alcohol license and kind of has a very similar name to the current store, your store that you're now? So you've got A-Star Retail, which you're applying for now, and I believe the one next door is A-Star Liquor Mart. So what is the correlation, the link between the two?
It was a very big coincidence. So I have one company that is A-Star Wholesale Limited. If you have a look at the company's house, you will be able to see this one company, A-Star Wholesale Limited, which is under myself. And
Yeah.
I thought, because I'm running a retail shop, so I'm going to make the shop name as A-Star Retail. But I didn't notice that the next door shop is A-Star Liquor Mint. But it's two different directors, two different, people. So I have no connection with that shop.
All right, fair enough. So you're saying you have little or no connection to that particular shop next door?
Yeah, it's just a similar front name, just A-Star. Mine's A-Star Retail Limited and A-Star Wholesale Limited, which I'm the director, but their shop is A-Star Liquor Mint.
All right. The other thing I was going to ask is the road, and we've actually measured it, is 320 meters long. How is that economically viable with roughly 8 to 10 convenience stores on such a short space of road? And also knowing what the antisocial behaviour issues are in that particular area, because it's a special policy area as outlined by the council.
I have noticed as well, one of the things you have mentioned on the list you have sent to the party who's dealing with my application and myself, from the Tesco's down the road on King Street.
Yeah, but that's not my question. I'm asking you, how do you see it as economically viable?
Is it possible you can explain to me?
So there are in that street of 320 meters, you've got 8 shops that are roughly doing the same thing. How is that sustainable? How are you going to make money? And how are you going to make money, especially with, as you were saying, with your staff being 4 staff at night, two in the daytime? That's quite a lot of wages you've got to factor in within your budget constraints.
I understand. I have noticed that all these stores are selling different products. So my product is going to be a bit different to what I sell. So I'm focused on some of different varieties of stuff.
Such as?
I've noticed that in this area, there are less newspapers, magazines to be sold. I am offering a printing, which I think is a good business to offer to the public.
Okay,
There are other plans I have made in buying the store. So I've thought that what I'm going to be selling is going to be making me help and, make me profit.
okay, because I would just, and again, it's just my suspicions. I'm not accusing you of anything. It's just from our experience, we find that the profit generally comes from the alcohol sales and not the other stuff. And that's what worries me, is that it contributes then to the antisocial behavior on the streets, leading to crime and disorder, making residents a little bit unsafe. So all these things, when it comes into the full licensing objectives, these are my concerns from a policing perspective, is the public nuisance, the crime and disorder. So
sorry to interrupt. As you have mentioned that there are profit from the alcohol. I think as I'm a wholesaler, I get products at a wholesale price rather than a retail price. I buy quantity in large quantity, which I can have my profit margin is going to be, if a retailer buys a product, they will buy 1 or 2 from the cash and carry. But I'll go straight to a distributor, buy products, sell on my wholesale business and some at my retail shop. If
So
a
with you-
person is selling, sorry.
yeah, so with you being the retailer then selling to your own, would you say then you'd make your products cheaper in that regard, especially with the alcohol?
Of course, so I will help the community. Of course, I want customers to come in rather than they go to a different store
All right,
and buy
'cause
their
cheap,
products from someone else.
fair enough,
So-
because cheap, yeah, because so from, if you selling, say, cheaper alcohol then leads to street drink. Hang on, let me just finish.
Yeah.
Cheaper alcohol then leads to street drinkers coming in, and also causing your staff, especially if they may be intoxicated and then they don't want to sell them something, and then your staff are at risk of being harmed with intoxicated people, street drinkers who, for the use of a better word, are their emotions override their cognitive or their logical ability to just go, okay, they've denied me, and then they get the hump. And then, so that's what I'm saying, the cheaper alcohol will then be the draw for the street drinkers to come.
I understand, but the way I said that my products are going to be cheaper, I don't mean by cheaper as in alcohol, cheaper as in the products like confectionery. I mean to say that if I buy a chocolate box, which is going to cost me £14 a case, and retailers are getting for £18 a case, £4 is my profit. I mean in that way, not in alcohol. Of course, my beer prices are going to be same and standard as the cash and carry price and retail RRP prices. And I'm not thinking of selling cheap cans, which are going to make, street drinkers to come in, buy 1 can of. First of all, I'm not even offering 1 can. If you have seen my conditions,
No, I have.
I'm going to be selling 4 as a can, or maybe as a 18-pack cases.
Okay. If I may ask, thank you for answering that. If I may also ask, in terms of the retail alcohol, where would your supply be from then? Would that be your wholesale store, or would it be from an external supplier?
So it's not going to be a supplier, it's going to be a cash and carry. So it's going to be, I'm going to go walk into a cash and carry and get the stock from there. Not just the wholesale from my side is going to be confectionery and some bits and bobs, for example, household products.
All right. Okay. Chair, thank you for giving me the time, and panel, that's it from me.
Thank you. I see Councillor Gallant, you have your hand up, so I'll hand over to you to ask your question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. Lots of questions that I had actually have been answered by the police and by the trade standards officer and licensing officer. So I'd just like to ask Mr. Madan, on your company house appointments, I see A-Star Retail Limited, company number 163350006, was incorporated in 2025. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. So but I've got A Plus Retail company number 1388143. That was at the same name, but it's a different company number. You resigned from that in 2024. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
What was the reason for that?
So the reason for that is my age was a bit, so I was around 18, 19-year-old at that time, and we had quite a few issues with the bank. We were depositing, because it was a wholesale business, we deposited a large amount of cash in that
Hang on,
company.
A Plus Retail was a wholesale business, was it?
Yes, it's a wholesale business, yes.
Okay.
A Plus Retail is a wholesale business. A-Star Wholesale Limited is a wholesale business. And there was another company, which is Manu Online Retail Limited, which is my sister's company. And I was as a part for a couple of months and I resigned.
Okay, that was company number 13881043, was it?
This one was. It was 13881043. It's A Plus Retail Limited.
Yep.
And the other one is Manu Online Retail Limited, which is 122-63216.
Okay.
Which was for online businesses only. We plan to extend this business, but we had a different, we got a different opportunity. For example, like a retail shop popped in. One of my close friends offered me a retail shop. We plan to open this store and make it as a convenience store. And we stopped the online business.
Okay. What is I've got Malkit Retail Limited.
The same, that was an online business too.
And I've got A Plus Retail Limited. A Plus Retail Limited.
Yeah.
So that appears, yeah, okay. So you appear to sort of resign and come back into that company several times. Is that correct?
Understand, yes.
Right.
As my it's still a running business. A-Star, A Plus also is still a running business right now too. As you see, the nature of the business is still it is specified as a food and beverages plus tobacco and non-specialized wholesale trade.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's still a running business.
Okay. So can you, for the sake of clarity here, please tell us what Ealing businesses you're involved with and under what company you trade as in the various companies you're trading as in Ealing?
So right now is A-Star Wholesale Limited, which is based in Charles House on Bridge Road.
Yep.
And
Okay.
if you require, I can provide you with the company's number.
Okay.
That is 1468-2768.
And that's a wholesale business.
That's a wholesale business. That's right.
And who are the other directors of it?
It's myself only.
Just you. Okay.
Yes.
And the other one, and the only other company is A-Star Retail Limited, which is this shop in King Street.
Just, this company is just made for this shop.
Okay, just made for this shop. All right, that's fine.
Yes. That's
Okay.
why it's the new company, which was opened
Okay.
in March 2025.
Right. Thanks, Chair. I've got no other questions for now. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Councillor Coley. You're on mute, Councillor Coley.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Madan, what I need to clarify, you are a wholesaler of confectionery items. Is that correct?
Yes.
There are other items.
There are other items as well.
When you say other items, can you clarify what type of items? So I'm clear on confectionery.
So there are confectionery, household products. So products like we do import products from outside the country as well, from Europe. There are products of dried flowers we offer. There are products based on flowers and plants.
Okay. Right.
And
so
yeah.
You're saying that this store is a convenience store, specializing maybe of the sale of items which predominantly are non-alcoholic. Is that correct? That's what you're saying, yes?
Please
So
can you repeat that?
that you're setting up this business. It's going to be it's going to be a convenience store, yes?
Yeah.
And the sales are going to be from non-alcoholic items. You're not going to be you're predominantly relying on sales of goods which are non-alcoholic.
Yes, so as I mentioned before, it's just going to be 10% of alcohol in store, and the rest going to be the 90% is going to be like household products, mixed products, confectionery, drinks. So 90% is that products, which is not related to alcohol.
Can you elaborate? I'm slightly skeptical about how you are bringing it down to 10%. How have you reached that conclusion that it's going to be 10%? I would like you to elaborate and maybe put my mind to rest that how you are getting to 10%. You see, when I look at confectionery items, when I look at other a bottle of whiskey could be 30, 40 pounds. Now selling one bottle of whiskey could be equal to selling about 30, 40 chocolates. So I just want to understand how you've reached that. What you're saying is 10%, and you're portraying to us, or what I'm interpreting is that you're not really alcohol led. And I don't disbelieve you. My concern is that how have you reached that it would be that?
So what I mean by this is that behind the shelf, for example, I'm going to give you an example right now. Behind the counter is just going to be one shelf of product like alcohol, and all around the shop is going to be not alcohol products. They're going to be confectionery, biscuits, household products, for example, cleaning supplies, the rest products. But it's just one shelf is going to be dedicated to alcohol only, and a beer fridge, and the rest of the shop is going to be full of other items. That's what I mean by 90% is going to be the other item, and the 10% is going to be just the alcohol itself.
Also, what's concerning me is the staffing level which you are suggesting. See, you are a single-fronted shop. Opposite you, you've got Sears, who's obviously purchasing power in terms of probably non-confectionery items is quite strong. I don't understand, by having the alcohol offer and the staffing element to provide that alcohol offer when it's only 10% of your total sales. Can you rationalize how that makes logical sense? And also I need to understand that, you're putting that staff at it's a difficult area. That's why it's a special area. Yes, but it's a special policy area. Can you explain to me why, for the sake of 10%, you are incurring that extra staff cost, and how do you make that viable in business terms?
As you have mentioned about this staffing system, so we have planned that we're going to be running a wholesale and retail in one store. For example, my wholesale business is going to be run by the same staff. They're going to be dealing with my wholesale stuff as well. So with the orders, with preparing. So what I'm thinking, maybe in the store, I'm going to be starting online business as well. I'm going to sell online stuff, which my staff's going to be, one of them staff going to be packaging, one is going to be collecting the orders. So we have a plan according to that. That's why we need 4 to 5 staff, maybe 3 to 4 staff during the daytime. As delivery is going to be coming in, they're going to be one person is going to be doing the shelving, one person is going to be doing like the collection, one person is going to be doing the labeling, one person is going to be on the till.
Right. So, okay, I acknowledge what you've said, but I'm struggling to absorb that, and I'll tell you the reason why, and maybe you can alleviate my concerns.
Yeah.
I believe this is a single unit, probably around between 1,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet. I don't know the exact area. Obviously, you're offering quite a bit in terms of, convenience store, household goods, alcohol. That would consume a great amount of area. And if you're wholesaling, if you're a wholesaler, you would need goods coming to you in pallets. So how does that unit justify what you've just said? The size of that unit, I'm struggling to absorb how you're justifying, or if you could justify how you're going to do so many activities within that small unit.
So with the wholesale stuff, I already have a unit based in Southall, in Bridge Road. I have a unit where all the deliveries and my pallet comes there. Deliveries, the way I meant to say the deliveries is for the shop only, for about the cash and carry that I'm going to bring the stock in. I have a basement under the shop where I'm going to be doing my online, but it's the same premises. I'm going to be selling and customers going to come, they're going to do their shopping, where my staff's going to come upstairs, collect the products, pack it and send it away. But the wholesale is just like, if I need 5 cases, I'll bring 5 cases, put it down, they can pack and they can send. So I'm going to use the basement downstairs.
Can you also, you do, as you've mentioned in your previous answers to my colleagues and the officers and the police, can you tell me what you are going to do exceptionally to stop, the drinkers loitering around, the drinkers, standing outside and being a nuisance? Can you tell me
There are a lot of,
apart from putting stickers on, which they can quite easily take off, and it's obviously, tell me what are you going to do? I need some exceptional reason to convince me.
there are a lot of steps that I've taken to start this business. For example, before applying for this application, I have made around 5 to 6 conditions for myself that I need to focus on before I start selling alcohol, because there are in this area, I know there is a lot of crimes going on. What I made a plan that I'm not going to be selling cheap beers. For example, street drinking, they're going to drink their can, they're going to come back inside the store to buy another can for £1, £2, which I'm not thinking to sell, because it's going to be a pack of 4, it's going to cost them £5, £6 at least. So it's going to be a high price for the beers, so they don't have to come back in, drink and come back in to, disturb myself or make any, problems in store.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madan. Thank you for answering those questions. Yes, Chair, I'm finished with my questions for the time being.
Thank you, Councillor Coley. I've noticed, Sergeant Sessa, you've put your hand back up, so I'll let you ask a further question before I continue to ask mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, it's Officer Nick Beasley just wanted to ask a couple of questions, if that's all right.
Of course.
So, Chair, panel. I've been around Southall for 10 years now, working in total. So I've got a lot of experience. I mean, I've got a meeting at 6 p.m. today with Councillor Dinser with all the other shopkeepers in Southall due to ongoing problems in regards to the crime and antisocial behaviour linked to alcohol and drug use. My concern is whatever measures are put in is going to add to the crime and antisocial behaviour. There is no stickers will not solve that. In my opinion, there is already too many shops. But my big question I have right now is, he said 10% will be alcohol. How much of it will actually be visible on the shop floor?
On the shop floor is going to be nothing at all. During the premises hours, it's going to be behind the shelf. So it's going to be behind the counter with a glass cupboard. There's going to be a glass cupboard and a shutter as well. So it'll be covered fully for my staff safety, for my safety, and for the public safety.
Okay, you said you're going to sell it as wholesale as well. How are you going to actually fit everything in your shop? It's not a big unit.
Wholesale is a different side. Also is being done in the other unit in Charles House. Wholesale as in that
Sorry,
I'm going to be buying wholesale product. For example, 5 cases of chocolate, and I'm going to do the online and sell retail in this store.
Sorry, I might have misheard earlier. You said you were going to do part of your wholesale and online business from your shop.
Yes.
So
Just
what
to
are you
take
going to
orders.
wholesale from your shop?
So the staff's I'm gonna have, they're gonna take the orders, but I'm not gonna be running my entire wholesale. I'm not gonna bring the entire pallets in the store. That is a different place.
So is it a customer comes to you, goes, I want a crate of X, Y, and Z. That product is not actually stored there. You just then get it delivered to them from where you actually store it.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Will your shop overflow into the street? So are you aware, you say you've been around South for a while. If you go to King Street, majority of the shops that sell vegetables, fruits, they have their baskets overflowing into the pavement. Will yours be doing that?
I've got nothing at all that is going to disturb the public or the street. As everything is going to be inside the shop, I'm not thinking to put a lot of products that is going to make a mess inside the store or outside on the public, on the streets. So no fruit and vegetables is going to be packed and it's going to be stored in the fridge.
Okay. I'll be brutally honest with you. Coming from shops in Birmingham to shops in Southall is very different. We had a meeting with Merca Slots Casino where they got I call it a shop because I don't know what the technical term would be for the premises as such.
It's a so Merca Slot is a slot machine gambling venue. So I think what Officer Beasley is saying is recently there were issues within the community, religious leaders, etc., regarding the actual premise about late night stuff. Merca was a problem there, but we had a meeting with their solicitor and their area manager, etc., in order to iron out these problems, which now have subsided due to actions they have taken.
But what I was getting at is they've got a shop on the Broadway in Southall and in Old Southall on King Street, and the differences between just them 2 premises and how they have to be managed and run are drastic. If you come out into the King Street, there's an old church where the front of it is now like a common area with like benches, like concrete benches and such like that. There is always street drinkers there. You get rid of one, another one appears. In my brutal honest opinion, I do not think that you'll be able to make money with the amount of shops that are around there, and I do not think that you will be able to, whatever things you can put in, will be able to help with downside behaviour in the area. I know the question is more of a statement, apologies, but that's just my opinion of working around here. It is too right with how much it is around here.
So
yeah, go on.
Thank you. Is that the end of your questions, or do you have any more?
That's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Coley, you want to come in again?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Madan, obviously it's a convenience store, and obviously one of the ways is that how well you display your items and how convenient it is to shop in there. But you have constantly said that all the alcohol will be behind the counter. Yes, I can understand that, expensive bottles of alcohol might be behind the counter. Are you saying even things like bottle of wines and cans of beers? So what you're saying is if someone walks in and he wants to buy a pack of 4 beers, you will physically have to pick it up and give it to the customer. They will not have access to be able to take out a pack of 4 from the fridge. Is that what you're suggesting?
as I've mentioned on my application as well, the beers are going to be in the fridge, a lockable fridge. Wines and alcohol and the spirits is going to be behind my counter with a glass covered. It's going to be a cupboard. I'm going to open it. It's going to be visible, but I'm going to open it. It's going to be glassed, proper glass. I'm going to open it, get the alcohol out, give it to the customer, close it back, or maybe lock it with the key. And during the day where there is not going to be a license, for example, if my license starts at 9 o'clock and I open the shop at 7, it's going to be locked away till 9 o'clock.
Right. Okay. So I don't see that being very much different to any other shop, because most other shops as well, there's a lot of shops which have opened up, and obviously the expensive beers and wines are behind the counter. So how is that in any way exceptional or different to what the other shops are doing? Because many shopkeepers keep the expensive whiskey and items like that behind the counter where they actually serve it, like it's on display. I appreciate that it's going to be lockable, and obviously during your non-operating alcohol hours, it will be locked and it won't be able to be served. I don't think that's truly very much different, but you'll still have all the beers and all that in the fridges, and they'll be able to. So this thing of it being behind the counter is not any exceptional justification, is it?
So I have one question for you as well. So I have been to 4 to 5, 6 off-license stores in King Street, and most around my house. I live in Hayes, and there are plenty of stores around myself as well. Whatever I'm offering, I do not see in them stores. So I've seen all of the shops on King Street. They are selling cups, disposable cups. Their alcohol is not covered with glass. They don't have shutters. Even with their beers, it's an open fridge. They're just displaying it. But my one is going to be having a lock. If you go to a store opposite my store, that beer is visible and the customer can go and pick it up. But with mine one, it's going to be a lockable one.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for your answers. Okay. That's it, Chair. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Councillor Coley. Before I proceed, I'll just check if anybody else has any further questions. Councillor Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Just very quickly, Mr. Madan, you said your dad, at one point you said your dad would be happy being DPS as well. I mean, you can only have one DPS in the premises. So just clarify what you meant by that, and just confirm that if your father's if he was going to work in the shop with you, he has actually got an alcohol distribution license.
Yes, he does.
He does. So who just for clarity, who's going to be DPS?
It's going to be myself, but I'm just saying that he has an experience and he is already being a DPS in a different store.
Okay, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Thanks, Chair. That's fine. I just want to clarify that. That's great.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. And Mr. Dear, you have a further question?
Sorry, Chair. Mr. Mahadan, you'll be selling. Will you be selling tobacco?
Tobacco is going to be around 1%. There's not much tobacco, because nowadays there are new vape system is going to be out, so there's less people buying tobacco. And as you know, from the 1st of June, there are some of the stuff, like some of the vapes are being banned. So there are a lot of other products which are in cash and carry, like new products. I'm going to be displaying that. More focused on that than tobacco products.
Okay.
It's going to be just a very less amount. I have made a shop. So what I have planned with my shop, that everything's going to be secured, safety for my staff. And even if I have tobacco or cigarettes, I'm going to be storing it near myself, not displayed, but nowadays there are drawers under the till. I'm going to have a lockable drawer secured.
Okay. Sorry, Chair. But there's still you appreciate there's still age-related products. You appreciate what I'm saying about age-related products?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And earlier in your presentation, you said yourself or your father will always be in the shop. Then you said most of the time. You haven't offered that there will be a personal license holder on site at all times, because obviously you are, and so is your father. You know, unfortunately, we get a lot of instances where people have just popped out to the cash and carry. Well, that's a breach of conditions, and you'd get in trouble for that.
So,
sorry, go on. So, will you or your father be in there at all times? If you're not there, your father will be.
One of us going to be there all of the time, because we are going to be running the business, and staff just going to be managing. For example, I've also mentioned, I don't know if you know, the company who's dealing with the application have mentioned or not to the application, that there was one local store nearby, which was run by a lady. It was a female staff. I don't know, which, you know, the street drinking targeted on her. That's not what I'm planning to do. So what we're going to have is going to be at least myself or my father or other 3 men that are going to be working. If there is a lot of crime going on, I might think of getting a security and remove 1 staff.
Yep. Okay.
Who has an SAI badge and who has, you know, knowledge of security, how to deal with stores and run the stores.
Okay. And that's it. Thank you, Chair. No problems. I'll let you ask your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dear. Any further questions from anyone present? No, great. Okay, Mr. Madden. I'll start with the most key and pressing issue here. What is your personal understanding of a special policy area?
So, of course, there's going to be a lot of conditions for myself to accept from the licensing team and the police. I'm going to help the community and, you know, work with yourself and the police together to help, you know, so the crime don't happen, to get the lower amount of street drinking to happen, less people to come in, steal stuff, you know, to help that.
Okay. I'm sure that you have some understanding that the onus is entirely on you to convince everyone present here today that allowing you to sell alcohol will not have a negative cumulative impact on the current issues on King Street. Allowing you to sell alcohol inevitably, if there's additional supply, there are likely to be more issues. So the onus is on you to explain to us that if we're allowing another retailer to sell alcohol in an area where there's already so much trouble, how can you guarantee that the additional alcohol sales will not negatively impact what's already happening in King Street? I would like you to articulate that as clearly as you can, please.
So right now, as I've spoken to the police and Mr. Day and Mr. Coley, they have asked a couple of questions about, you know, how to avoid people coming in, buying 1 can. I have put in a lot of conditions to you guys that I'm going to be not selling this, you know, 5.5% of beers are not going to be over 5.5. It's not going to be sold in the store. Single cans are not going to be sold. Miniatures are not going to be sold in this area. There's a lot of shops, they are selling above 5.5. Their alcohol displayed is not very good. You know, people can come inside the till, take stuff and go. There's fridges are very open. They can come steal. There's a lot of stealing going on in this area, particularly in Tesco's, which is mentioned by the police. They're a big chain, and as I'm a small businessman and a small business owner, I really care about my products. So I'm going to be very strict on this. I'm going to put a lot of security measures myself. I'm going to train my staff not to sell alcohol to underage. You know, I'll have a refusal book as well to note down. Of course, CCTV cameras are going to be running 24/7. So there are a lot of conditions I've already placed on my application.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that there would be 4 members of staff on site when you are selling alcohol. You
Yeah.
then stated that some of those members of staff will be operating in the basement for you to make that economically viable. So if presumably you're offering the additional members of staff so that they can manage any sort of antisocial behaviour that might be aligned with the sale of alcohol. But if they're in the basement, how can they assist you in that regard?
It's just they're going to be doing their work from, of course, the basement. So I'm having staff to help stealing. For example, if there are any support needed, if there's a lot of, for example, if 1-2 customers are coming, then 2 persons are okay to deal with them. If there's a lot of customers in store, for example, of around 5-6, if they're all together in store, then I can call them up to help me look after the staff and, you know, help them assist if they need any help. But the rest of the time, it's not going to be busy all day. Of course, they can do their stuff, but if I need them at, you know, and on the shop floor, I can call them to help me. And the rest of the time, I can look at, you know, how to increase my sales and, you know, the profit to cover all the expenses.
Okay, thank you. You said that you'd be managing online sales from the basement as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Online sales. Sorry to interrupt. Online sales, as in, like, for example, you know, these nowadays they're doing Uber Eats, Just Eat, you know, the packaging and stuff is going to be done.
Fine, thank you. Do you intend to sell alcohol as part of that online offering?
No, I'm not going to be selling alcohol on
So
that.
you will not be offering alcohol on any
No.
3ED sales?
No.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that you intend to have a different convenience store to the other convenience stores on King Street. For example, you wanted to offer, I think, printing and other things. Can you elaborate on those other services? And can you tell us what percentage of your sales those other services will make up?
Other services, as in, like, for example, there is a post office next door, like 2 shops next door to myself. And there are some of our customers from our community who needs help with translating, because they speak other language. Like, for example, they speak Punjabi, they don't understand English. So I'm going to help them assist with some of their applications. You know, if I need their help, they need help with filling up the form, or, you know, to help them write the address, or they need any help, I'm going to help them provide those services.
Okay, sounds like you want to do a lot in a small space. Can you tell me what percentage of your retail sales will be comprised of that service?
With that services, of course, it's going to be taking around 5%.
Okay.
And the rest, you know, most of the things, like I said, 10% is going to be the alcohol, 90% I'm more focused on mixed products, like, you know, the mixed services, the confectionery, this helping, you know, the community, and, you know, whatever is going to increase my sales, I'm going to be selling those products in 90%.
Okay.
But only 10% is going to be the alcohol.
And do you intend to sell vapes?
Yes.
Okay, what percentage of your sales will be made up of vapes, please?
Of course, it's going to be just a 1 shelf in the store. 1 shelf, as in, like, one, you know, nowadays you can put a covered display on the counter. It's just going to be that. So I'll say around 15 to 20 cases of them.
Thank you. That is the end of my questions to Madame. I will now invite Mr. Dear to make his. Oh, sorry, Councillor Coley, did you want to ask another question? Mr. Dear, I invite you to make your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As has already been mentioned, this premises is in the Southall Special Priority Area that has been operating for quite a while now. It's obviously been renewed and is in the new policy. In this borough, we have over 1,300 premises. 48% of those are off licenses. That special priority area, the risk assessment was done, and it showed that there's there was enough crime, antisocial behaviour, call outs to the police, the ambulance services and things like that to make sure that stayed in. And as already been mentioned, that policy states it is intended to be strictly applied. Exceptions must be generally exceptional. And I appreciate the applicant has come here today and has offered numerous conditions and has tried to show that the premises be well managed, but that is one of the unlikely things that be made of the grounds. It'd be well managed. No dwellings nearby. Well, we all know, hopefully we all know, that King Street is commercial on the ground floor, above is houses, and behind is very residential. The plan that was shown, it shows where the spirits will be stored, i.e. we've heard it being glass cabinets and double locked, and it doesn't really show where the fridges or shelves will be for the alcohol. The premises are going to reopen early in the morning, and we're talking about 7 o'clock in the morning. It says maybe 8 o'clock. We've already heard that there are numerous off licenses within a 250 to 500 metre area, going from 6 up to a dozen. It makes it very vulnerable, very intimidating for vulnerable people and lone females in the area. And every day I look at the overnight crimes, and there's always King Street there, antisocial behaviour. A lot has been made of Tesco's. Tesco's, it's been there a few years, and now it's like becoming like Fort Knox, and the shoplifters and such like go in there still to try and steal. Even the energy drinks now are behind the counter, behind a locked metal shutter. I don't think I've heard anything today. Mr. Madran is obviously a very young, up-and-coming businessman and is very keen, but the area is very tough. And I still stick with my original recommendation, that the application is refused in full, because I haven't heard anything exceptional. We've heard standard conditions and model conditions, if you want to call them that. So that is my recommendation, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Dear. Are there any questions for Mr. Dear, those present?
I would like to ask one question. So I need help from Mr. Dear. As you have more knowledge about this area, I can help and work with you. And if you have any conditions you can offer me, which I can consider. If you have, for example, if you have a stronger points that can help my business with preventing, these crimes, then I can help with you, have assistance and help from you guys, and I can start my business. Because right now the business is just a toy shop right now, as you've seen. I haven't transformed it, as you know, I haven't made the changes yet. I was waiting for the premises license. But I have put all these plans together that, of course, I'm going to be looking into. And if you have anything that you would like to consider that maybe I can do to, prevent this business.
Chair, I don't think we've already seen, and as I mentioned, Tesco's metal shutters, boarding up all their alcohol, security and staff being assaulted numerous times a week. It's putting people in danger for the sake of, sorry to say, Mr. Medran, 10% of alcohol sales. I would personally open my business first, if you're very keen on that, run your wholesale business, and then perhaps consider another application, perhaps in a year's time, when you can show us that your shop, you know the area. You might decide after 6 months in King Street, you might go to somewhere else. If you're not making money, you wouldn't make money with 10% alcohol, because there is nothing stopping you. And I think that members of the committee should consider this as well. There's nothing stopping you. If you get a license today, you know, the committee are not going to put a condition on your license to say you can only sell 10% of alcohol in your shop. There's nothing stopping you taking every bit of fruit, veg, sweets, printing stuff out of your shop and replacing it with alcohol. You mentioned earlier about there's some shops in the street that sell high strength alcohol. Well, they've been there over 20 years and we would love to do something about those shops, but we can't just, unless we can prove and stand in that street all day long that those shops are selling alcohol to street drinkers and they're responsible, then we can review their license. But we can't just review them because residents or other people ask us to. So that's what my advice would be. Take the shop on if you still want to, but wait for the alcohol license.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Councillor Gallant, you have your hand up.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, so Mr. Deere, I mean, we've sat and we've heard Mr. Madden answer lots of questions, and he's answered them straight, and we've heard them. So my question to you is, why are you not convinced by what he said today out loud? You know, in response to the questions, why are you not convinced that that is that can be managed properly as a retail outlet for alcohol? Why are you still not convinced? Primarily,
I think you know, our policy says that it's got to be exceptional. Yeah, Mr. Madron has come along with one or two additional conditions, but just, you know, if he's willing to have conditions put in his license that he's going to have a minimum of 2 during AM and after 1 o'clock, he's going to have 4 in that shop. And as the chair has mentioned, not downstairs in the basement, it's not going to be viable. I don't think we've heard anything that allayed my fears. We've heard it there, and I'm not. It's nothing to do with business grounds, you know, if about other off licenses in the area, because we don't look on grounds like that. But the crime is too high in the area, and I say if Tesco's with their security and that still getting hit very hard, I don't think there are any additional conditions that can allay my concerns.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah, that's fine for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Mr. Madden, I will allow you one final question before we move on. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to talk about Tesco. Tesco is a very big chain. If one of their products gets stolen.
Mr. Madden, do you have a specific question for Mr. Deere? This is not your opportunity for statements. You've had that opportunity. If you have a specific question, please feel free to ask it.
Another question I want to ask is, I'm still happy and I would like to work with you guys. If you have any conditions that you would like to offer me, I would be more than happy to work with you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Madden. Sergeant Sessa, I now invite you to make your representations.
Thank you, Chair. I think Rob Deere from the Council Licensing Authority has reiterated most of the stuff our concerns. But in saying that, regarding to this particular venue, as we all know, it is in a special policy area, which is largely affected by antisocial behaviour, nuisance, a lot, in essence, a lot higher than many other areas on the borough of Ealing. The London Ambulance Service also has a high volume of calls related to this particular area. And with an SPA in place, the onus is on Mr. Madden to demonstrate what he's going to do that is exceptional. It is also in a public space protection order, which my understanding is a High Court order where people obviously can't drink in public and block shops and other forms of antisocial behaviour that affect members of the public who do frequent that particular area. The area is known to police for frequent street drinkers, Class A drug users. This in turn creates a high volume of antisocial behaviour and disorder in this particular area. With regards to this venue, as I've already mentioned, there are multiple shops in approximately 320 meters long road, which is King Street. We as the police believe, due to the 8 or 10 stores that are on that particular stretch of road, that the venue has, that particular area has reached a saturation point, and increasing similar premises, all of a similar ilk, selling alcohol will just add to what is already the existing problems present with regards to street drinking, crime and antisocial behaviour. With me that his S&T are, but the drain on the resources, they lifters on arrests, they nick, and of course they then go to the court. Things turn out the way they do. Mr. Madan, in terms of his particular store as well, what he has highlighted, I don't think is any different to any other off license on that particular street or any other off license. I understand that he has stated confectionery, etc., but I don't think in terms of the structure of the store, there is anything different. Yes, he will have the lockable shutter. I understand he has engaged with us regarding these things, but it is the same outline of a particular store like all the others. I understand he's a young, energetic entrepreneur, and I don't want to be spoiler alert, but my concern from a policing perspective is to the overall community and the impact another venue of a similar ilk to all the others will have on that particular area, and it being in that saturation point on a police perspective. Further to this, whilst I'm not saying Mr. Madan's store is going to be the sole cause of crime, disorder, and public nuisance, antisocial behaviour, I think it will contribute, especially with the sale of alcohol. And if I were maybe going to do something different in that particular area, I'd maybe concentrate on other products. So if the confectionery is a source of income, etc., and it's nice confectionery, that might draw a different clientele base to this particular store, and the alcohol becomes a redundant element to it, if that makes sense. So just in terms of the idea different, but I don't believe the idea presented here today is any different to any other off license that we have in this particular area. So based on what I've just said, from a policing perspective, we are also going to be objecting to this license. And for me, the alcohol is the major issue. It's got nothing else to do with the rest of the store. So yeah, any questions, throw them at me. Thank you.
Councillor Gallant, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, thank you very much, Sergeant Kessler. Could I put this to Officer Beasley, please, because he's obviously a patrolling officer and he knows this area very well. He goes up and down all the time. So I'm going to ask the same question to you from a crime perspective. Have you heard anything that Mr. Madan has said today? He's answered at length the questions from all of us. Have you heard anything today which gives you more confidence in this venue? You did put some conditions in your submission on your submission in the reports. Have you heard anything today which allays your fears or gives you more confidence in this business?
The only thing that helped a little bit would be the stickers, because if we are dealing in the street, then if I can spot it coming from that shop, we could in theory go straight back to licensing and challenge his license. However, the big point was made of, they can just take it off. This person in the shop could easily go, if you're going to drink that in the street, take it off when you're out on the street. Not saying he would, but it could easily happen. He brought up a female in a shop that was targeted. That is literally the meeting I have at 6 o'clock this evening, where they are struggling because of the ongoing antisocial behaviour and struggling in regards to their alcohol, their shops getting targeted. by ongoing street drinkers. I think in total, I think it's like 30 shops are all coming together. They're all getting targeted, where people are targeting shops to then sell to off licenses. So Tesco, the majority of stuff that is done at Tesco's, we believe, pretty sure, that is getting sold to off licenses or confectionery stores around Southall. So we are now targeting them. It's become this pandemic in Southall, which I'm trying to get a grip of and catch up with. So he's saying all the right things. I just don't think it'll do the work.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Glant and Officer Beasley. Are there any further questions for the officers, PC or Sergeant? No, thank you. Mr. Madden.
Sorry. As Sergeant said, I said all the right things, boys. He thinks it's not going to work out. If you can give me a chance, and if it doesn't work out, of course, you guys have a chance to remove the license and, you know, you can take it off me. But of course, I'm going to be trying my best to, you know, help work with council and the police to, you know, grow my business.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I can't direct you as what to do, etc. There are conditions that you discuss with your licensing agent, and then and as we have been engaging, which you have, from a transparency perspective, you've done some positive things in terms of your application, but I still feel, Mr. Madan, that your store is no different to any other store. And the crime rate in that particular area, I know you were alluding to Tesco, but Tesco has had to change the way they operate within their business model due to the higher thefts, the personal safety of their staff, etc. And I just think if you dissuade, and I'm not saying do this, but I believe if you remove the alcohol from your venue, it'd be a different venue if you concentrated on other things that bring in other clientele that is positive. But I'm not telling you how to run your business. It's just an observation and an opinion that I'm offering here, and that is it. But I do appreciate your sentiments, and yes, we always want to work in partnership with all the retailers that we have interactions with, etc. But there is nothing that you've stipulated in terms of the structure of your store that I believe is different to any other off license. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Madan.
Thank you, Sergeant Sessa. Mr. Madan, we have noted that you have, to all intents and purposes, you wish to work with the police and the local authority to reduce the concerns in the area. So I thank you for saying it repeatedly, and we have noted it. Do you have any further questions for Sergeant Sessa? No. Colleagues, do you have any questions? No, thank you. Okay, in which case, Mr. Madan, I will allow you to, sorry, I beg your pardon. I will allow Mr. Deer to make his sum up statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Be short and very sweet. Yes, thank you to Mr. Madan for being so open and offering what he did in his application. However, I don't think I've heard anything that unfortunately allayed my concerns, and perhaps he should consider, if he still wants to go ahead with King Street, consider my option that I put forward, opening the business first as a small convenience store, selling something different from other people, attracting some customers, and perhaps he then will see what the street is like. So that is my summing up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Deer. Sergeant Sessa, would you like to make your sum up statements, please?
Yes, Chair, also short and sweet. I've already reiterated the various issues within the locale of King Street, and obviously I've got to look at things from the 4 licensing objectives, which are preventing crime and disorder, public nuisance, protecting young people at harm, and promoting public safety. I'd like to thank Mr. Madan for the way he has engaged with us over this period of time going through the application of the licence. But as I've mentioned, I don't believe there is, all the intentions are good and proper, and I really admire and thank him for that. But I just don't believe that his business model is different to any of the others on King Street itself. And we as the police are of the opinion that it may add to the ASB, etc., due to the alcohol sales. So from our side of things, yeah, we stand by our position and object to the licence. But I'd like to thank him and you for the opportunity, and yeah, let's see how we go on.
Thank you, Sergeant Sessa. Mr. Madan, would you like to briefly sum up?
So I will leave everything on you guys. So of course, I will respect your decision, and of course, as I say, I would like to help the community, and I would be happy to work with the local authority and police if they can grant my license. Then yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Madan. The licensing subcommittee will now retire to make its decision. I anticipate we will be back by 12:15. 12:15, yep. So if everybody could please kindly return to this virtual meeting room at 12:15. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.